The immortal jellyfish. Imagine you could reverse your own age. Not slowly, not cosmetically, but completely. Your cells rewriting themselves, your body collapsing inward, regressing through adolescence, childhood, infancy, until you become something earlier, something that can start over. For every organism on Earth, this is impossible, except one. In 1988, a German marine biology student named Christian Sommer was collecting hydrozoans in the waters off Rapallo, Italy. Among his specimens was a tiny jellyfish, barely 4.5 millimeters across. He placed it in a petri dish to study. What he witnessed shouldn't have been possible. The jellyfish didn't die. It didn't even age. Instead, it began to reverse. The adult form collapsed inward, reabsorbed its tentacles, and transformed back into a polyp, the very first stage of its life cycle. It became young again. Sommer had discovered Turritopsis dohrnii, the only creature on Earth that has solved biological immortality. The mechanics of immortality. Every organism on this planet follows the same rule. Cells age, systems fail, death arrives. Turritopsis dohrnii breaks that rule through a process called transdifferentiation. Here's what that means. In your body, a heart cell is a heart cell. A neuron is a neuron. Once a cell differentiates, once it becomes specialized, it stays that way. This is fundamental biology. Turritopsis dohrnii can rewrite its own cells. When stressed, starving, or injured, the adult medusa sinks to the ocean floor. Its bell deteriorates, its tentacles retract, and then something extraordinary happens. Its specialized adult cells begin converting into different cell types entirely. Muscle cells become nerve cells, digestive cells become stem cells. The organism doesn't just heal, it restructures itself at the cellular level. Within days, the jellyfish has regressed into a polyp, the very first stage of its life cycle. From there, it begins development again. It grows, it matures, it becomes an adult medusa once more. And it can repeat this process indefinitely. Why this exists? The ocean did not grant Turritopsis dohrnii immortality as a gift. It forced this adaptation into existence. Jellyfish are fragile. They drift with currents, vulnerable to predators, environmental stress, and starvation. Most jellyfish reproduce once and die. Their life cycle is linear. Polyp, medusa, reproduction, death. One chance to pass on genes. One window of survival. But Turritopsis dohrnii operates on a different strategy. When conditions become lethal, when food disappears, when injury occurs, when the water temperature shifts, instead of dying, it reverses, it retreats to the polyp stage, the most resilient form in its life cycle, and waits. When conditions improve, it matures again. This isn't magic, this is survival optimization. The deep ocean does not reward creatures that die easily, it rewards creatures that refuse to die at all. The limits of immortality. Theoretically, Turritopsis dohrnii cannot die of old age. In practice, almost all of them do die, just not from aging. They are eaten by fish, they are killed by disease, they are crushed in ship propellers or consumed by other predators. Biological immortality does not mean invincibility. It means the cellular machinery will not break down from time alone. And here's the question that haunts researchers. If this jellyfish has existed for potentially millions of years with the ability to reverse aging indefinitely, why isn't the ocean filled with ancient, immortal specimens? The answer is simple. Immortality doesn't matter if something eats you first. But there's another limit, one far more unsettling than predation. When Turritopsis dohrnii regresses to a polyp, it loses its adult form entirely. The bell disappears, the tentacles dissolve. The free-swimming medusa becomes a stationary polyp anchored to the seafloor. Scientists don't know if it retains any memory, any cellular trace of its previous life. Does the polyp remember being a medusa? Does it carry forward any record of having lived before? The answer is almost certainly no. Jellyfish don't have brains. They have nerve nets, decentralized networks of neurons that coordinate movement and feeding. When the organism regresses, that entire structure is dismantled and rebuilt from scratch. There is no biological mechanism for memory storage that persists through transdifferentiation. Each time Turritopsis dohrnii resets, it may be starting over completely. The same genetic individual, but with no continuity of experience, no knowledge that it has done this before, no awareness that it will do it again. Is that immortality, or is it serial existence? The same organism living multiple disconnected lives, each one unaware of the others. In human terms, imagine if you could reset your body to infancy, but in doing so, you erased every memory, every learned behavior, every trace of the person you were. You would continue existing biologically, but the you that made decisions, formed relationships, accumulated experience, that version would be gone. A new version would grow in its place, genetically identical, but experientially blank. Turritopsis dohrnii may be biologically immortal, but it may not be continuously immortal. It doesn't escape death, it just fragments it into stages. And if there's no continuity of self, no thread connecting one life cycle to the next, then what exactly is being preserved? What scientists are learning. Since Sommer's discovery, Turritopsis dohrnii has become one of the most studied organisms in the field of regenerative biology. Researchers want to understand the molecular mechanisms that allow its cells to de-differentiate and reprogram themselves, mechanisms that theoretically could be applied to human medicine. One key focus is the role of certain genes and proteins involved in cellular reprogramming. In 2022, researchers identified specific genetic markers that activate during the reversal process, genes associated with stem cell pluripotency, the ability of cells to become any cell type. These same pathways are studied in cancer research because cancer cells also exhibit a form of uncontrolled de-differentiation. The challenge is this: transdifferentiation in Turritopsis dohrnii is controlled, reversible, and serves the organism's survival. In cancer, de-differentiation is chaotic and lethal. Understanding the difference, why one process preserves life and the other destroys it, could unlock new approaches to regenerative medicine, wound healing, and age-related degeneration. But we are decades away from applying these insights to humans. The biology of a jellyfish with no centralized organs, no complex immune system, and no brain is radically different from ours. What works for Turritopsis dohrnii in seawater may not translate to a mammal with a beating heart and firing neurons. Still, the questions remain. If we could activate controlled transdifferentiation in human cells, could we reverse aging? Could we repair damaged tissue by converting one cell type into another? Could we reset parts of our bodies the way this jellyfish resets its entire form? The answers are unknown, but Turritopsis dohrnii has proven that biological immortality exists, and if it evolved once, perhaps it can be understood. Since Sommer's discovery, Turritopsis dohrnii has been found in oceans worldwide. It's not rare, it's not isolated to one region, it is spreading quietly across temperate and tropical waters. Somewhere in the cold water, a jellyfish that may have lived for decades or centuries is drifting, waiting for the next time it needs to become young again, unaware that it has done this before, unaware that it will do it again. The deep sea did not create monsters, it created survivors, and some of them have learned to survive forever, even if they can't remember how many times they have already lived.